All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, we are continuing our challenge on life force cultivation. And let me share this slide. How's everybody doing tonight? I want to thank you so much for your amazing super chats that you guys have been sending. It's so absolutely lovely of you. I really am so grateful for that. And let me go ahead and share this. And again, if you're joining us, please put your questions in capital letters, and I would really love to answer your questions either at the beginning or at the end of tonight. Hi, S'mores are fun. Hello, Daniel Reese. So good to see you. Yeah, so today we have an awesome topic, which actually is one of my favorite topics, and it's about the contraction and expansion of the energetic field. And the reason why this is an important topic is because very, very little do we understand the amount of power that we have over our multidimensional body and the ability to shift the experiences that we're having. And really, the multidimensional body is something that it's an alive organism that you can utilize and that you can use for your healing, for your expansion. You can use to attract and also deflect energy as you need. And it's important to understand those mechanics because we use these techniques unconsciously and then end up with certain results. And I'm going to explain that to you and how that happens in our lives. So let's get started. Hi, Capsum Log. So great to see you. Wonderful to see you. All right, let me just share the presentation because there's a lot that I want to discuss about it, and I want to get into the depth of the conversation. Okay. So we're talking about the multidimensional body, and we're talking about how we expand and contract the field. The contraction and the expansion of the field is one of the most important elements of understanding your magnetic field, how you can use it, how you generate the magnetism for the attraction, for the pool, the energetic pool, and how the bioelectrical element functions in that, the bioelectrical system of your emotional creations are essentially affecting that. Okay, so let's start by understanding the field really quickly. I'm gonna move this out of the way so you can take a look at this field. So our bodies, our multidimensional bodies, are made out of the energy centers, the vortex centers that we call the chakras. And the chakras are spheres, they're interconnected spheres, they are interlaced webs of spherical pathways of energy. And we're going to talk a little deeper about the chakras later in this challenge, but we talked in previous conversations about how each of these chakras actually have micro coilings that go along the chakra wall, around the web that creates this pathway. And the way that it spirals, it coils information in order to produce the field around your body. And what is being transmitted through those coils and through the field is also yet another layer of self-organizing information and frequency and energy. Essentially, the coiling of the information, each one of these little lines that you see in the field, you can kind of use as a reference to visualize the coils, the coiling of that. It looks like a DNA. And through the coiling of these little strands that make up the entire field of one of these layers of your body, essentially is transmitting and moving through the multidimensional body the information from the chakra system And the chakra information that is processing through the chakra system is holographically projected from our source code, which is essentially your blueprint, or what people call DNA. People call it blueprint, but it's the DNA, okay? And the information from that, which stores all of the information that creates the protein body, the organs, and then the upper layer of this information, which is the epigenetic structure that allows us to pass information that we are processing on a daily basis, okay? And how that affects and stores in the organism, the multidimensional organism. Now, the organism, this little organic body here at the center, is made up of this field, and the network of information that makes this physical body is literally this entire field, many layers, spheres within spheres of layers that make this multidimensional body, and yet within the physical body, even more spheres, because they are electromagnetic systems of energy that are oscillations of every single cell of the body being an oscillating field, a network of information that is interconnected, intercommunicating with all parts of this physical, more dense matter, and also the non-physical. So what happens in this case is that when we are utilizing our field, we don't realize that actually this is actually what creates a container of experience for the human. And whatever the human is feeling internally, it will create a projection, filters of projections towards the external. And every single human looks like this. And you can imagine that our fields are intermeshing, interlacing, and co-creating, essentially. This is how we are interdependent in this system of co-creation. And our energies and the information that we are running the most they play as a magnet that attract us to other organisms, complex organisms, that are also in resonance with this body, with this whole system here. So what happens in the body when we process very specific thought forms? Now, remember that because these are many little micro coils of information, how we manage the information that we are processing, whether it's overactive or underactive, is a contracting and expansive mechanism. When our chakra system is out of balance, and remember the chakra has dual energies, right? It has a positive and a negative. So when the chakra, let's say the root, has positive, harmonious. So let's define first positive and negative. So they expansive and contractive traits of each of the chakras, which are, as we understand them, positive and negative charges. But they also create in the physical body, other mechanisms, other bioelectrical charges, biochemical charges that are contributing to stabilizing the body emotionally, mentally, and bioelectrically. For the human to come into its optimum health, it has to be very charged, and it has to have embodied and become a conduit system. We have to become a conduit system. And we become a conduit system when these systems are in coherence, when all of these bioelectrical charges are harmonizing with one another, because what it looks like is that every single one of the fields is projecting into this spherical expression. And each one of the spherical expressions is a multitude of colors. And usually when we have a lot of disconnect, confusion, trauma, every single one of these fields looks like convoluted spaces of different shades and colors, because we have a lot of under-processed and over-processed thought forms that are moving through the space, through the field. Some are more stagnant than other, And the more stagnant the emotion or the thought form, the lower the frequency it becomes, which also indicates that if you were to see the color, if you were to see the information through the energetic field, you would see it as a color. You would see it as a color range. For those of you that can see more colors rather than direct emotions, or more emotions rather than direct colors, you can begin to kind of identify the range of frequency of the density of the information that you're accessing in your body. And it will help you understand, because the more contracted the information that you find within your field, the lower the wavelength and the density, and so therefore the frequency, as you can see, the frequency ranges are changing, are different. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that as well, when we have tears and breaks in the field, tears and breaks occur essentially when these blockages and these any kind of contractive energy is overactive in the field. Okay, the constant contractive energy of a thought form, because it's contractive. Let me get a brighter color so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Because it's contractive, it basically shrinks back, especially being underactive. It begins to move very, very slow, stagnant, and the information is very hard to get to. And also, when this is reinforced over time, it goes into the subconscious mind. And because this is an interconnected system, actually, the farther away from the field it also becomes, and more in the back of the body it begins to store. Okay, so a lot of times, so the way that the body functions, it's on an axis point from 0 to infinity. Okay, in all 4 directions. And zero being the center point of co-creation and infinite possibility, infinity being the infinite possibility into higher dimensional planes. So when an object is essentially stagnant for a very long time, it becomes suppressed and congested in the back of the body, further to the back, the longer and longer that we suppress the emotions. Because again, information moves from being a higher frequency, which is less physical, to this lower dense more physical, more dense frequency that becomes more physical and the body can feel. So over time, these programs get stored in the back of the body, which is the subconscious mind, the subconscious. The whole back of the body is a representation of divine feminine and the subconscious. The divine feminine manages the subconscious, the core primal co-creation of things, and all of that is emerging from the subconscious mind. So as it blocks within the field here in the farthest reaches of the body, it becomes something that is less easily seen by the person experiencing it. Okay, and just as you see here that there's one large block here and there's another little block there, what happens over time is that because we become fractalized within traumatic experiences, every single time that this thought form is reinforced and triggered, it creates an aspect of ourselves that is suspended within the timeline. Timelines, you can say, are memory stamps, energetic memory stamps within the coils of our field. And eventually it gets stored. The strongest and the most reinforced programs are the ones that are epigenetically stored and then inherited into the next generation. So the human body is accessing this information in vivo, okay, accessing the information. Now, if we continue living our lives without much awareness of these blockages, all kinds of things can happen. because of the level of reinforcement of this program, it creates a huge tear and interference in the field, which contracts the entire area. Another part that I will also mention, that when these blockages are rooted within divine feminine imbalances, they create a weakening in the left side of the body. When they are rooted in the weakening of the divine masculine, in inverted and in the wounded masculine, it is in the right side of the body. Okay, so this is, most healers are very aware of this. Those of you that are energy healers, those of you that are, very in tune and psychic and intuitive, medical intuitives, that understand the pathways of energy through the body and how they're organized, can very easily identify when core programs are rooted in the feminine or masculine, just by simply asking certain questions about the emotions and the part of the body in which is most affected. And what happens is that these also are part of archetypal programming that we hold, and overlays of consciousness that we hold within us. They literally are memorized within the body, and usually very much inherited from the father and mother, because the father and mother more than likely is also holding that kind of wounding within the feminine masculine aspect of themselves. And the human, the child, or the offspring of this parent, essentially may not realize or may not recognize how they're holding those patterns within themselves, until they have repeated events in their life that cause triggers. Triggers are caused and are projected into our reality because of the constant reinforcement of these programs that we hold within the body. And what happens is that eventually we are barely operating, and because most of the thought forms that we hold within the body, and because we have lack of awareness of these, they actually really create a very large network of traumatic memories and experiences, that influence the way that the human is operating and expressing and experiencing the world around them. Let me just check in here. I'll come to your questions in a second, guys. Hang in there. So let me just show you here on this plane, right? So we have these infinite fields that are projections of our body. And so what happens in this case is, let's say the human is holding on to this program. The field, as you can see, the larger field that they're holding on to is essentially, let's say the root chakra, okay? And the root chakra is basically completely enlarged and magnified in this human. Why? Because they have all kinds of these debris, contracted holes in their field. There's complete lack of awareness and disconnect of the multidimensional body. And so all that they can see and all that they can experience is absolutely through the filter and resonance of this vibrational frequency, which is here. What happens to the rest of the body, the multidimensional body, is that because this is the largest, most processed bioelectrical charge that we hold within the body through the emotions, is that the higher self, the field and the thread that interconnects us, the source core that interconnects us to that infinite potential, becomes thinner. And that's why people have feelings of confusion, disconnect from themselves, completely lost, overwhelmed. And the inability to connect to that source energy into the body is frequency. This is why when people go to shamans, when people go to healers, they clear the energetic body. And what happens? Oh, they have clarity. Oh, they realize something. Oh, they heal the body. Oh, all of a sudden things start to work. Okay. And so there's many ways of healing, and one of them is energetic by removing these thought forms out of the body. However, as I mentioned many times before, the human has to be ready to let go of those programs. And in order to be ready, we have to support the human with the alternate understanding of the new self, of this new way of engaging with the world that is the opposite of the same patterns that they were repeating with the previous program that is creating all of these blockages. Okay, so what does that look like in the body? Essentially, the higher fields become further, because there's such high frequency, the human is not in resonance to them. And when they enter dream state, they can only enter very limited ranges of the field for their exploration. Um, and their quality of sleep, their diet will play a tremendous role in helping shift that. So let's say it's a person that has a tremendous amount of trauma, but sleeps really early, eats good, gets up in the morning, has a wonderful diet. What happens is that the quality of sleep, because the physical organism is getting nourishment, will be able to navigate higher dimensions. And oftentimes, this is how the human can access messages, interactions, information without being fully healed in the physical body. And they can access that because the part of them that is a higher frequency is the one that, because the body is able to support that, can actually leave the body, detach from the body safely, and begin to travel in higher fields. However, what tends to happen, and what I notice over and over again, is that there is a limit to what they can reach, the information that they can reach. And unfortunately, sometimes it's always through a very specific filter, and that filter is rooted within the traumas that the human is holding in the subconscious mind. So this is something that we have to take into consideration when we're in our healing process, when we're trying to get information, when we're trying to get clarity about things. It's really important to understand that this system is all interdependent, interconnected. The physical health, the quality of sleep. Why is the quality of sleep important? The quality of sleep is important because we're talking about brain waves and the ability to trigger deeper states of rest, deeper states of sleep, deeper brainwave states. And the higher the frequency of the brainwave state that a human can reach, the deeper they are able to travel, the higher frequency they are able to access information. And that is something that is cultivated through meditation. Okay, without meditation, which is the ability to regulate the nervous system enough to be able to, move and shift your brain waves when you need to, the human has a very hard time going into deeper states of relaxation. Now remember that the deepest meditators are able to reach really, really deep states that are incredibly, high consciousness. And it is a state that is a state of awareness, but profound internal peace and awareness of all of itself in the waking state and in sleep state. Okay, because it's entering into the dream world, which is both in the waking state and in what we know as the dream state, in the sleep state. So what we want to do is we want to merge these two worlds, and we merge them by learning how to access deeper states of consciousness, deeper states of complete sleep, very, very deep sleep for the body, physically, so we can leave at night. But in the waking state, such a deep regulation in the body, and calm and peace and serenity, and the harmonious state of the energetic system and nervous system, through the emotions, through the regulation of the emotions, that the human is wide awake and conscious and still in an observer of the surroundings in the waking state. Every single one of the organs, as you know, is part of this regenerative system, and every single one of the organs is interconnected to the little coils of your chakras. They are processing information. This is how we can also heal at a distance, because the organs of this physical body are essentially interconnected to the layers of this multidimensional body. And the layers of the multidimensional body are what pick up the waves of frequency that surround it. Okay, so every single one of these little coils that I was mentioning inside of this, in this beautiful field, this energetic field that we have as our greater multidimensional body, they all interconnect to the different layers of the body based on the frequency. Different layers of the body can hold and communicate different frequencies. Okay, so just one moment, please. I was cooking something. I'll be right back. Okay, thank you. I'm back. Sorry, guys. Don't want to burn my yummy food. Okay, so here's what happens. So essentially, every single one of these organs is intercommunicating because remember, these are subtle energy bodies that pick up information from around you. And the information is energetic. The information is going to be emotional. We have our five senses, which is the higher faculties that translate all of these rainbow frequencies. Okay, each one of the five senses is operating at different frequency ranges, which allow you to pick up the information, and that information is through the entire body. So even your toe is picking up information. Okay, so we have to be so aware of the body that we are able to work with that. So, that being said, our ability to navigate this world from a place of co creation really has everything to do with our subconscious mind and our programs. The level that we are operating at in terms of frequency completely dictates the health of our multidimensional body, of our field, of our energetic field. It dictates how contracted our field is around the body, okay? And it dictates how expansive the field is around the body. Now, notice here when the human is in a state of fear, because of the density of these frequencies, those kinds of emotions are really, really heavy. And that's why when we go into a room and we see we feel very, very angry or very depressed people, we can pick up all that information very clearly. We can feel it to the body. Of course, the more empathic you are, the more you're going to pick up the information. But what you're going to notice in the person that is operating in these lower frequencies and that have a very contracted field is that also the way that the energy moves through them, usually their body language tells us a lot about where they're at. Okay, they're hunched over, their head is down, they're, it's hard for them to sit up straight because the spine is what's moving life force through the body. The primal life force that moves through the spine. So, and the organs, when they are over processing or when the organs are processing really, really heavy emotions, they go into complications, right? We have digestive issues, adrenal issues. Nothing is moving where it's supposed to go. The body is in panic. The body is in pain and suffering. We can't move things through. So this is what the energetic movement essentially looks through the body. It's barely moving. Look at that. It's like a squiggly line that doesn't quite generate energy for this body. And eventually, depending on where you store the majority of your programs and emotions and fears, that will be the limit of the highest level of consciousness that you can access until you start to move things around, move energy, move the physical body, which is why yoga, exercises like yoga, and the reason why I like yoga is because the human has to, it's forced to sustain poses that require a complete attention and present awareness of your physical body. They require an awareness of the postures. They require an awareness of how you're moving. Is your leg bent? Is your knee straight? Is it lagging? And good yoga teachers will help you sustain certain poses and guide you and direct you. But when we begin to open these energetic, stagnant blockages in the body, and yoga is not the only one, there's many other techniques that you can utilize, qigong being another extremely powerful, more directed, more intentional focus on the energetic body and opening up these fields and these runways of energy. But essentially the movement, and you'll notice that with yoga, the poses are intended to focus on different parts of the body. If you have contraction in the heart and in the lungs and the chest, let's say a flu, you want to exercise heart opening exercises, lung opening exercises, opening the meridian lines of the lung meridians, opening all of these centers of the body that are contracting information. And these lead to viruses, and they lead to essentially the imbalance of the entire organism and the systems that are interconnected. Okay, so this is what happens. And so the other thing that happens is that this becomes, because your subconscious programs, let's say for this person, it's fear, everything, it's their filter of reality. So what they will be experiencing and what they believe they will be experiencing is from this filter, unless they change that. That has to be changed. The constant reinforcement of the neural pathways of this vibrational frequency subconscious program will reinforce your energetic field, because in the same way that neural pathways are firing these bioelectrical charges with one another, our thoughts are bioelectrical charges, and our field is an entire system of bioelectricity exchange. So we are literally pulsating at this frequency that we have now created. So what do we do? What do we do with this bioelectrical charge in the body? The human has to learn how to change that into a state of transduction. So let's take a look at the body that is now observing and experiencing, exploring and experimenting with a different emotion. Let's say peace. Okay, they found some peace. What happens is that the multidimensional body begins to charge at the frequency of peace. The internal organs as well begin to resonate with that. And there are amazing techniques that you can utilize to do that. One of them is very extremely simple and very easy, which is imagine that your organs are smiling or they're happy. Okay, when we make the organs smile and happy, literally it changes the frequency and the way the energy is being processed through those organs. It's such a simple technique, but you can feel it immediately in the body. And it's very interesting if you experience working with these moods and emotions, okay? So let's take a look at this. What happens is that the way that the energy starts to move is with more balance. Now you don't have one chakra that's extremely overactive and one chakra side that's extremely underactive, because the chakras are dualistic. Again, they have two energy centers, plus and minus, everything, because that's the oscillation to create a field, right? The toroidal field requires the plus and minus pull and movement in order to create that contrast so that the energy can flow. That is the driving motion that is created by the oscillation. And the body And every single one of the chakras is also operating in that same system. So as we begin to regulate the body, energy starts to flow in a more open manner, and the body reaches some kind of homeostasis, some balance over time. Now, this can change at any minute, okay? So most people that are, just learning how to work with their energy, their field is opening, closing, up and out all the time, as they are learning how to really create that peace. And the way that you create that is by long sustained times of meditation. And remember that cultivating higher states of consciousness, cultivating emotions and states of being such as peace and harmony are very much a bioelectrical and geometric structure within the body that is part of this neural system. And the brain that creates the gray matter can be more of a conduit, because remember that peace is a high functioning, high vibrational frequency. The body has to be in resonance to this in order to understand. And now it becomes a filter of co-creative manifestation. This now becomes the conduit charge that is creating the body. So our body can actually expand and contract the field. We can utilize these techniques to protect ourselves, and we can utilize them to expand and express ourselves. How is that possible? You might notice that a person that is shy and doesn't want to be seen, or is trying not to be seen, they achieve that. Sometimes you're in a room full of people and there's this one person that you didn't even see them there. You don't even feel them, and they're standing right next to you because they have their field very contracted. Now, the contraction of the field, when we hold a lot of trauma, there's a couple different ways of the contracted field. Okay, the contraction and expansion of the field is just the mechanism. The frequency that you're holding in order to contract and expand the field will define the kind of experience and outcome of that experience. When the human is afraid of being in their body, they usually hang out up here, somewhere above. They don't want to come inside the body. They're usually floating around, up here somewhere. But they do not want to go inside the body. Once they go inside the body and they have to feel the emotions, they want to check out. So people that have extreme trauma, people that are introvert types, wallflowers, people that have a lot of disassociative tendencies and patterns as a result of traumas and interactions, whatever programs might be, what happens is that the body is unattended. So this is not good, because what happens to a body that is unattended, a body that is so powerfully interconnected and constantly co-creating with the external world, that essentially the field becomes weakened over time, and tears and openings allow for things that we are not conscious of. Remember that this human experience is all about agreements. Okay. And even though in the larger picture, our free will is kind of not so existent in the way that we're part of an interdependent, very intricately interconnected system. And, we all, we're a product of our ancestors. We come here for some level of co-creative potential that is kind of available to each human. And it's available because of the organizing of this structure of your bioorganizing. Okay, so in that sense, there is the idea that we don't really have that much free will until you alchemize those programs and you begin to access the core pure creator. Okay, so the core pure creator is the one that chooses because they are in the state of observation and awareness every moment of their day. But the human that doesn't want to be inside the body, that denies the body, that rejects the body, that limits their time in the body, that doesn't want to be present, that is afraid of truth, that is in denial of their truth, of who they are, what they're doing, that human is completely incapable of coming and choosing the kind of experiences that they're having. They actually become and embody the role of the victim of these experiences. So anything can enter, and what is entering is what is in resonance to the human. So if the human is in a constant state of feeling unworthy, not good enough, fearful of themselves, self-doubt, that's exactly what will be attracted to this field. And we create energetic cords essentially from the body that are connecting us to those people, places, and things. And essentially the body becomes very parasitic. Our belief systems is parasitic, and everything that we're attracted to is also parasitic because that's the nature of the resonance. So the human becomes sluggish, slow, disconnected, any number of symptoms, including, and most importantly, the lack of connection to the source. Okay, the source cord becomes very thin. And more than likely, this human is suffering from a loss of intuition. That is a difficult time to discern. Discernment is very difficult for the human that is not wanting to be in the body, that wants to check out constantly, because we don't know ourselves. In order to discern, you have to know yourself. So let's go to the option which the human is now, let's see what this looks like when the human is opening these systems. Let me just open something here for us. The human that can expand their field and actually anchor into the field actually has a lot of ability to begin to move now. Okay. And so what happens to the body, bear with me guys, I'm going to show you guys over here. Okay, so the human that can actually expand their field, the human that is embodied in the body, can now have some level of awareness of what they want. And an empowered field, a healthy, vibrant, active field, essentially is a field that is solid, doesn't have holes, doesn't have a lot of those cords and parasitic connections, parasitic cords. Okay, we all have cords to everything, but parasitic cords that are entangling us with things that are, causing suffering. So it's very simple. To alchemize that is the reconnection with the body. So come fully into the body, come grounded into the body. The grounding and reconnection to the body is what allows you to begin to start choosing differently. The awareness of your shadows, the awareness of the imbalances in your body, the awareness of how the chakras are out of balance in the body are what allow you to begin to make choices, different choices. And if you're aware of your traumas and the things that have caused you suffering, then, that's a wonderful start. Sometimes we have a long time even beginning, we don't even know what is the problem. Okay, so that's going to require a couple more experiences, repetitive experiences, to help us understand what is the problem. And I want to make sure that you understand that this is part of the human experience. There is no right or wrong of existing, and there is no achievement and failure. Every single life experience is absolutely essential to your development and growth. But It's up to you if you're going to use the experience to grow or not. If your experience that you had is going to be one repetition of many, all you're doing is hurting the body energetically, becoming weaker and weaker, and limiting your creative ability. You are a creation, and you are a creator. So what we can do, if the human comes fully in the body and expands their field when they're, for example, in a networking group, they want to connect with people around them, they want to engage, they want their presence known in a way that is healthy, co-creative, from a place of compassion and from a place of love, which means freedom, not codependent, co-creative. That's a very light, fluid, non-attachment energy that is there to co-create. It's a different frequency. And all of those traits, you can learn more about yourself and kind of begin to gauge where you're at in your state of creation by understanding creator states. Okay, depending on what level of operating system, our archetype that we are most running in the back end, how we are creating in the world around us will be different. Okay. So are you in your survival or are you a co-creator? Okay. So all of these creation states literally have different multidimensional body expressions. They look different, they express different, they move different. And I can tell you that the difference between the two is this being the lowest creation state and this. Okay, this, in which the energy is moving fluidly and openly through the body. And, the human is now coming into a state of masterful co-creation in harmony with nature, in harmony with all things. Okay. So this is what the light body is. We become light because we're fluid, we're movement, we are constant ebb and flow of energy. There's no attachment, there's no codependency, there's no depletion of your life force. This is an example of a centrifugal movement of the body. All the energy exiting outward. Okay, energy going outward. In this case, this being has become a spiral of energy in which the energy is moving inwardly, upward and inwardly. He becomes the center through the heart center, because the heart is the largest toroidal field. It becomes the center of co-creation. The alchemization in the light body, the integration, the alchemical marriage is the integration of both dualities, of the dualities within us into one, into wholeness. And that is what a strong magnetic field, a strong aura, whatever you want to call it, your energetic body is now operating in optimum state. In the higher fields, what happens here is that the human body begins to access higher bands of frequency, which means that they begin to access information. Some of you might be channeling information. Some of you might be getting visions. Some of you might be getting informations. So these chakra bodies now are available to you. These informations, the Akashic records, right? Your crown, your third eye becomes available. You start seeing synchronicities in the world. You start seeing communications with nature. Some of you might become, communicating with people of in between layers of dimensions. So we become multidimensional, and this is the new human. The new human is the one that has the mastery to be able to become a conduit of source in the living physical world in order to manifest. This is where the human is essentially coming to. And what that looks like in the DNA is that the human becomes a powerful conduit And this light is inherited. That Christ consciousness, as they have called it, not from the idea of the religious concept of Christ, but the original concept of Christ consciousness after the chrism that is created through the development of the pineal gland, which creates the DMT and opens up the higher worlds to the human for access of truth and for the remembering and recovering of the memory of all that they are, is available to the human through these higher faculties. And for that, it is the cultivation of that, of the energetic body. Okay. So I'm going to stop there today. Hello, everybody. Let me come over here and see if there are any questions. I'm starting a little bit late, 11:11 right now. It's a beautiful synchronicity for us. Yay! That means we are right on time and we are exactly where we need to be. So let me see if there's any questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat in capital letters. How do we reach the inner child wound on our own? I feel like no matter how much I try, it's hard to really heal these root traumas with so many blocks in my roots and sciatica. So, well, I feel like perhaps we're going about it the other way. The blocks in the sciatica will dissolve when you access the inner wounds. It's the inner wounds that are potentially feeding into the pain that is contracted in that part of the body. So accessing inner child wounds is actually a lot easier than we might think. Okay, accessing the inner child wound is simply about following your triggers, your everyday triggers. Where you have an everyday trigger is where there is an inner child that is wounded. Very simple. Okay, and alongside of that little inner child is an ego, a wounded ego, a traumatized ego. So what we want to do is we want to begin to understand who's holding what does the inner child need, and what does the ego believe it's protecting. Okay, who's protecting what? Usually these programs, the inner child believes that it's protecting the ego, which is the identity, the self. It believes that it needs this trauma, it needs the program that it's playing out in order to protect it from something. So we want to go in there and kind of get clear about what's being protected. Who believes that? Is that true? And the kind of truth that we're asking is it the higher truth, not the truth that we've inherited, which is most likely incomplete truth, right? Because usually we take on the belief systems from mother, father, and those belief systems from mother, father are just other humans also in their path of awareness and healing. So they don't always understand and have gone through that transmutation, through that healing process themselves. So we kind of want to look beyond our immediate environment into the higher truths, into the higher laws of the universe, which talk about harmony, which talk about even exchange, which talk about peace, which talk about love. So get acquainted with these different energies in yourself, these emotions in you. Do you even know what those feels like? Are you familiar with them? Do you know how to access that in your body? When you begin to alchemize the little wounds of the little child with the needs that need to be met for this child, and you begin to experience those needs in your body, this is where you will begin to recognize these universal laws. You will begin to recognize peace. You will become familiar with love. You will become familiar with harmony, because innately that child always knew them. That child was them. The child is an expression of them, because children are the closest to the source. They are the closest to that purity and that knowing. The only thing that happened to the child is that they experienced a disconnect with their external world, because what they knew internally didn't match what they're experiencing externally. So this is a very loving process of the reunification, of becoming one again, of becoming source again. And we do it through the experience of being a child with a parent and having these experiences of dependency, and then becoming whole, becoming an interdependent organism. That is the maturing of the inner child that becomes an interdependent co-creation and co-creator, essentially. So take a look at your triggers, whatever it is. It can be so small, and I'm like so amazed. And so I did this beautiful session with a little boy the other day, and it was something that triggered him that was seemingly so, I mean, anyone could have heard that and been, oh, that doesn't sound like much. Let's see what else there is, and tried to find some severe trauma. But it was just one tiny little feeling that the child had. And when you go inside there, you open up an entire world, this little pattern of emotions that the child is feeling. So recognize that with yourself, be your mother and your father. You become your father and your mother. You become the one that listens. You become the one that supports, that nourishes, that protects. You have to learn how to become your own mother and father. And as you learn that, you will learn the energies, the dualistic energies of the feminine masculine nature in their most wounded state and in their most vibrant, healthy, and co-creative state. So you become that. So that's something that I can share with you. Maria says, why are some people fat? Is that also stored emotions? I would love to help a friend. She's 30 years old and has 30 kilograms. Where to start? I think it's all stagnant energy. Yeah, so weight is a very interesting it's a very interesting mechanism for the organism. There's a couple different reasons. I should probably do an entire video on that because it's a lot of different things. But I'm going to summarize just quickly some things that that do occur when it comes to weight. Now, there are different reasons biologically why we gain weight, and we need to look at a couple things. Number one, the emotional state. Sometimes it's a protective layer that is created in the body. I see this a lot when there is sexual abuse and when there's severe breaking of boundaries at a very early age. Oftentimes, this becomes a protective mechanism. Number two, and again, we have to do a whole video. Please don't take this as the absolute truth. There's way more to this. It's more complicated, more complex. And I want to be very clear, there's nothing wrong with people that are overweight in their presence, in their essence, in the way that they look and present themselves. But there is a reason for this. And what we're studying here, what we're here to study together is the mechanisms of our, psychology and our body and our spiritual work and the connections between that. That's what we want to find out. And if we need to change something in the body that's not working, that is causing illness and death, that has to be corrected and hopefully fixed for the human to have a peaceful, harmonious life. That is our goal. So there's nothing wrong with weight. What's important is harmony and internal peace. And the reason why I say that, because there are severe cases in which people have genetically, they are not able to lose the weight. And the reason why is because this is generations of trauma that's now embedded in the code as an expression that is part of the form of the human for their chosen life experience. Okay, so we have to take that into consideration. Aside from that, there's an encyclopedia of reasons and the connections between weight and the somatic roots of that, having to do with severe trauma, emotional blockages, energetic leaking of the energy. And oftentimes when those are fixed, the human can come back into a little bit more of a balance and health, okay? So that's really important. The greater karmic life paths to experience weight as an entire life journey is also something that exists. Okay, so some people, they never lose the weight, doesn't matter what. They are happy, they are doing their thing, they're okay, but they never lose the weight because the weight is part of that life experience and it's part of the lessons. A lot of it has to do with self-love, and that is generations of self-betrayal, generations of And remember, self-betrayal can be eating the wrong thing or making toxic behaviors against the body, even if it means not being careful of our boundaries, even if it means not respecting ourselves. All of those little intricacies participate in boundaries. The connection between the breaching of boundaries and weight is a big one. That's a big one. So I definitely, let's do an entire video. Please don't take that information as just that's it. There's so much more to it. But what I see is that when humans come back to themselves and they begin to accept themselves, okay, when they begin to accept themselves 100%, the human begins to change everything. They change the eating habits, they change sleeping habits, they change the health, they change relationships. Okay, so we want to explore and experiment what happens when we love ourselves. And what if we just start there and see what happens? Okay, because that definitely changes the conversation and the way that we're holding energetic space, as I mentioned. So yeah, so there's a lot of wonderful things. Where to start? That's where to start. What are the blocks around the ability to love the self and to act as a being that loves themselves? Where are those? Let's find those, let's unpack them, and then go from there. Okay. Thoughts on energy and synchronicities with others that are physically distant from one another. Thoughts, thought forms. So, Daniel, this is most likely through quantum non-locality, right? And we are deeply interconnected with one another through a network of communication, which is frequency and resonance. And so we communicate with one another. It doesn't matter where they are in the entire world, or even if they're in another universe. The communications that we have with one another are available to us through our frequency. And that is available to us through quantum non-locality, which is a very beautiful understanding that, you know, we are the universe, and the universe is literally inside of each one of our bodies. Okay. If you have a more direct question for that, let me know. Love you guys. Thank you so much for your amazing questions and comments. You guys are amazing. Any of your questions, put them in capital letters. And let's see. Asia says, is remote viewing directly connected to the pineal gland? I have like an HD camera going on that takes me to certain places. Not sure how to cultivate this. Absolutely. And I do teach a remote viewing class that you can check out. It is connected to the pineal gland, absolutely, but it's also many of the systems. Actually, it's the development of a lot of your senses. And the reason why is because when you are tuning into a place, a lot of times the way that you pick up information might be through smells, sounds, tastes in your mouth, things that you're hearing, things that you're feeling, you know, and then images. Okay, so all the senses are utilized for remote viewing. The pineal gland is the one that is the engine that allows you to expand and clarify and strengthen the clarity of your vision. But really, all the system is participating in this. How do we cultivate this? Learn how to open and close your chakras and take meditation in reading state as much as possible. If you know what reading state is, it is the shrinking down temporarily of your first, second, and third chakras, opening of your heart, throat, third eye, and activation of your crown. That's reading state. The reading state allows you to activate your higher faculties and train your intuition. That's what that technique is for. So I highly suggest that in meditation, bring yourself into this. And as you do, begin to cultivate your field. As I mentioned in today's class, we're going to make that field completely solid, whole. So we are very protected. Okay. I have booked tickets to a person called Brian Wu who takes you through breathwork and interact with ET and offers you monatomic gold supplement. Have you heard of him? Have you any advice? No, I haven't heard them, my dear. Um, I mean, yeah, we can all enter into these states either through breath work or deep meditation or hypnosis in order to interact with interdimensionals. Um, I am not a fan of monoatomic gold personally because I feel that we need to produce that on our own. We need to create that on our own because we create monoatomic gold through the pineal gland, as I was just talking about. The body creates that organically. Um, and I think that taking it is great, but what's better is that you sit for 1 hour and meditate and start to work on your multidimensional vision. And also in dream state, start to practice lucid dreaming. Okay, because in your dream state, you're already intercommunicating and interacting with interdimensionals. Um, so, it's great. Experience it. See what it's like. Check it out. I definitely my perspective is to develop your own abilities so you can do it yourself, and hopefully, try to get sessions with people that will teach you how to do it, not really that they're going to guide you. Because then what happens is that they tell us what's happening, and then sometimes it's not going to resonate with you, or sometimes it will. We don't need other people's psychic abilities to tell us what's happening. We need to develop our own. It's very important, because then people get confused. And I've had many sessions with people that have done sessions like this. And when they tell me what other psychics have told them, I ask them because it's not in their space energetically, but I'm telling them, does it resonate with you? And they're like, I don't know. No. So that's a problem, right? And it's both a frequency problem and it's an internal cultivation problem. We have to develop our intuition. And so, even if we do work with psychics, that we learn to discern for ourselves what is in resonance with us. Because, again, because we lack the cultivation of our intuition and our field is wide open, you can take all kinds of things as yourself. And remember that right now, we need to focus on knowing ourselves from the inside out. Okay, that's really important. But Tony, good luck. Come back. Let us know how it is. And yeah, maybe it's something that works wonderfully for you. I liked your videos 5 years ago, and now I feel different somehow. I pick up kind of politician speaking vibe, not friendly, caring. Oh, Vitus, I love you very much. Thank you so much for being here, though. Definitely not interested in politics. What is it? Pacific Life? There's telepathy. Thanks so much. Eternal love, gratitude. Thank you so much, Ageless, for that. All right, guys, let's get into the meditation. All right. Take a nice deep breath. Come into a state of complete relaxation and calm. Breathe. Allow yourself to come in to an absolute stillness. Breathing deeply. And we're breathing down to the base of the spine, trying to straighten the back as best as possible, opening the runways of information. Grounding down to the center of the earth. Be aware of your energetic field all around you. Focus on shrinking the root chakra, the sacral, and the solar. Opening the heart, the throat, and the third eye. Expanding, activating your higher faculties. From the center of the earth, go ahead and bring a powerful green energy coming up your feet, up into your shins, your calves, your thighs, creating a vortex of energy at the center core. From source, go ahead and bring down a powerful wave of cosmic energy coming into the crown of your head, down your spine, combining with the green earth energy. Go ahead and take 10% back down to the center of the earth. 80% up your spine from the crown of your head, coating the outside of your body. 10% absorbed into the body, into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level. So go ahead and go up into the crown. Go ahead and expand your crown. Fill it in with your creative color. If you don't have a creative color, you can sign up to work with me. I'll help you find it. We're going to align our higher self in the area with the area of our career, abundance, love, consciousness, relationships, family, peace, harmony, creative energy, sexual energy, money, and purpose. All of your creations and your creative energies and exchanges, you are aligning with your highest expression. Let's begin by clearing our energetic body. Noticing if the right or the left is heavier in the body or lighter in the body, more visible or invisible. Take a look at that. . Take your attention to the parts of the body that are more invisible in light. And I want you to bring your attention to those and just visualize repairing the field in those parts, bringing it back, sealing it shut. Go ahead and notice if you have cords around the field, and let's clear them up. Breathing your life force back into the body like pure gold energy and releasing what no longer serves you. Go to the back of the body now. Notice how much we don't pay attention to the back of the body. And allow yourself to clear any blockages in the back. Breathing. These are pretty subconscious programs that we store in the back of the body over a long time. So just be aware of that. Clear it out. Keep moving around the field to repair any holes, any tears, any openings, any unconscious parts of our body, any dormant parts of our body. Bring your awareness and light into those parts of the body. Your awareness is the light. Let's go ahead and break karmic contracts. I want you to see a room full of karmic contracts. It could look like a stadium. It could look like a castle, whatever feels real to you, filled with your karmic contracts, all the agreements that you made coming into this planet in order to learn. And all these agreements we made under unconscious states that cause suffering, go ahead and dissolve them. Go ahead and fill that space with your crown color. Go ahead and go up into your crown now. So begin to look at our field, and I want you to notice your chakras. We're going to start with the root chakra, and I just want you to notice, is that chakra more open to the right or the left? Just observe. Is the right or the left more overactive or underactive? Just observe that. I know you shrunk them down, but you can still see this. You're going to feel it. You're going to know it. You're going to sense it. Go up into your sacral. Go ahead and tune in. Which side of that sacral chakra is more overactive or underactive? Go up into your solar plexus. Go up into your heart. Tells you all about what's happening to your body, your mind, your thoughts, your perceptions. And remember that the dualistic energies are about the feminine and the masculine. If it's a feminine energy, it's about receiving. If it's a masculine energy, it's about giving. And you can kind of identify if one of these energies is out of balance in these parts of your chakras. Go up into your throat. Go up into your third eye. I want you to allow yourself to rebalance those chakras now. Be aware of any emotions that come up, any triggers that come up, any memories that come up as you do this. Very good. Take any heaviness out of those chakras, whichever chakra feels heaviest. Release that heaviness, the tightness. Don't be afraid if it feels like a lot of information. Take your time. You can always pause this video and watch it later. Give yourself the time to do this work. Don't rush through it, because in the process of healing is where you will find everything you need to know, all the information, memories, thoughts, understandings, insights, emotions that you need to know and that you need to let go of. Very good. Go ahead and open your root, your sacral, your solar now. You can expand it back into, from reading state, we're going to go back into an aligned state. The body heals when you run energy. The body heals. The body recovers more. It recovers faster. So allow yourself to heal the body. I want you to visualize a very healing frequency. What color is that for you? Go ahead and visualize your body filling up with this beautiful healing color. Absorbing into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level. Go ahead and activate the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th chakra. Open up your crown and go ahead and bring that crown energy back down into the center of the earth. Source energy down to the perineum, into the center of the earth. Allow yourself to come in fully into the body. Come into a state of neutral observation. and be absolutely still to feel the energies in the body. Notice any tension in the body that needs to be released. The more contracted you are, the less energy that's moving through your body. The more you move around, the more you're depleting your life force. But for some of us, we are adjusting, we are learning. Also, some of us might move around when a lot of intense information comes through. That's okay. That's good. Breathing deeply. Very good. Go ahead and open your eyes. Allow yourself to come back into the room. And welcome back. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was an honor to be here with you. And I hope you learned something today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about part 2 of contracting the energy field with a technique that I call body of glass. And I think some of you are familiar with that one, but we're going to practice it because the contraction and expansion of the field is absolutely required in order to learn how to embody the body of glass. I want to thank you guys for your incredible questions and comments. You guys are amazing. Daniel Ruiz, thank you so much for that super chat. That really means a lot to me. All my love. I really am grateful for that. And yeah, if you have more questions, I'll clarify the question in time as I journal events and hope. Yeah, I hope to work with you as well. Yeah, definitely journal. Let me know if anything else comes up maybe tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Can I meditate running energy if I'm recovering from a hysterectomy that was done 2 weeks ago? Absolutely. In fact, absolutely run energy. But what I want you to do is I want you to choose a color that's healing for you, and I want you to pull that color up from the earth. And the intention is that it's going to help and clear the recovery of the work that was done. Okay. And yeah, send white and gold light to that part of your body to help regenerate and heal. And try to come into as much peace to allow the body to recover as quick as possible, and make sure you're getting lots of rest. Angelina, all my love to you. Thank you again, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Love you. Tony, that's awesome. My color was cream. Yay. I love you. Bye.